Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Asp.Net Monsters. In today's episode, where the hell has everybody been? Where's this guy? Where's this guy? This guy? This guy? I don't know. And what's been going on in the world of .NET? Let's mash on that. Hi, everybody. So I have been out of touch on .NET for quite some time. I spent like the last 2 years working on a Ruby project. And I started thinking over Christmas that I should probably get back into some .NET stuff, because otherwise it's going to move on so far that I'm not going to be able to catch up. So today I'm going to start some efforts on catching back up. Dave and James are still around. James is working hard at his bakery, and Dave is working hard inside the bowels of Microsoft. But today we're going to take a look at what's new in Entity Framework, and I'm going to continue on looking at what other stuff I've missed in the .NET community in the last, 18 months or so, where I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention. Hopefully I can catch up before it moves too far on. So to start with, I'm going to take a look at one of the new features inside Entity Framework. So I have here a brand new ASP.NET Core project that I'm just going to spin up here. So we'll just use most of the defaults here and let this run. And I've called this Entity Framework 8, but I'm actually going to be looking today at one of the Entity Framework 7 features. And this is one of my favorite new features inside of Entity Framework, and it's been something that I've been looking for inside of Entity Framework for like ever, basically. I'm sure I remember asking about this like 10 years ago. And that is the ability to do bulk updates on entities. So I've got a brand new project here. I'm going to go and strip a little bit of stuff out of it. So we don't need any sort of weather stuff today, I don't think. This is just what comes with the template. But what we do need here is a new file. I've forgotten how to navigate everything here too. So we'll grab a new file here, and we're going to set up an Entity Framework context here, and we're going to take a look at a parking lot. That's our little data model, I guess, here. So we need to bring in DB context here. So we'll just go and add a NuGet package here. And I'm going to browse around here, Entity Framework, pull that up. And I am going to grab the SQL Server package here. So this has a bunch of dependencies, so it'll bring in all of Entity Framework for us here without me having to crawl around too much. So that looks like it might have added itself. Make sure we save everything here. And this is going to extend DB context. And we'll bring that in. And the first thing that I want to do is maybe set up a couple of different entities, and we'll just get lazy and we'll throw them in this class here. Let's actually make this a little bit bigger for people to see. I forgot how to do that too. Probably has a little thing down here for making that bigger. It's 150. Okay, that's more readable here. So first thing we're going to need is a vehicle. So this is what's going to park in our parking lots. An ID sounds pretty reasonable. String name that's close to what we want. We probably want a license plate number. Just make that nullable for now, keep things quiet. And we also want to have a jurisdiction. Let me spell that properly. So this is because license plate numbers are not globally unique. So you can have the same license plate number in Texas as you do in California, as you do in Delaware, and so forth. So we'll add a jurisdiction there, and hopefully the combination of jurisdiction and license plate number is unique. And we'll maybe throw in a couple of other fun strings here. So we'll throw in a make the vehicle is, and maybe what model the vehicle is. So there's lots of other data we could add here, but we'll keep it to this for now. And then we need to have a parking session. So a public class parking session, and that is going to have an ID as well. I think it's an ID, and we'll just use integers for IDs today. And we need a start time. That's a date time, start time, I guess. So this is when a parking session starts, and then we'll need an equivalent end time. Something's suggesting that to me, so that's awesome. And then this is going to be related to a vehicle, like so. Okay, so in order to be able to query these, we need to bring those into our DB context here. So let's do a public DB set of vehicles and a public VLIC DB set of parking sessions. Right, and now we're going to need to initialize this class here. So I'm going to steal a little bit of code here to do our configuration. We wouldn't necessarily normally do this here, but we'll do it for now. Oops, wasn't the thing that I wanted to do. There we go. So I'm going to do my options builder, and I'm going to use SQL Server, and I'm going to give it a connection string here, which I have written down in a file. Oops. Let's grab that, paste it in here. Okay, so I am just talking to a local SQL Server database here. I actually just spun this up inside of a Docker container. So I have passed this thing trusted server certificate to true because the certificate chain on this one is not necessarily correct because it's running a Docker container here. I've given it a password. I've given it the SA account to run your applications using the SA account, please. But for now, for the purposes of this, we will do that. So that should be enough to get us being able to talk to the database. And now we need some endpoints here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of these like minimal API endpoints here. What do we use? Get on this one? Map get. So I'm going to map the get function for populate here to some sort of a function that is going to just go and build up some data in our database here. So parking lot context lost. Parking lot context new parking lot context. And then we will add a few vehicles here. So parking lot context of vehicles that add, and we'll give it a new vehicle. And in there, we won't bother giving it an ID that's going to be generated. Jurisdiction, we'll give it Texas, because of course, why not? License plate number, ABC, 123. Make, well, it's Texas, of course, going to be Ford. And model, obviously, it's going to be an F-150. Driving anything less gas consuming than this is considered treason in Texas, which I think totally reasonable. So we'll change up some of these license plate numbers here. And now we will save this parking lot context. Save changes, and we'll just do that synchronously for now. Shh, don't tell anyone I did that. All right, so that should be enough to populate our database with some values. We'll just spin this up here. I think we have one build warning, but that'll be fine for now. All right, so here we go. It's our populate endpoint. We'll try that out. So probably haven't done anything too exciting here. So this should go and build a bunch of data. Uh-oh. Interesting. So we have run into a problem here. Only invariant culture is supported in globalization invariant mode. So this is a new problem that I have encountered with Entity Framework and this version of .NET. So I'm going to unload this project here and edit this here. So by default now the templates have invariant globalization set to true. We're going to turn it to false and we'll revisit that in a subsequent episode here. But now we can reload this project. And let's try running this again. Okay, try this out, execute. It's going off doing something. All right, there we go. So we can't open the database. Oh, because we forgot to build it. Let's go and build that database. So I'm going to go and snag this little thing here. SQL Server Management Studio, new database. We're going to call it EF8 here. And then I think we will go and run some migrations to bring that up to date. So let's go over here and get back out into the right directory. All right. So a couple of things that I need to do here. Just stop this thing from running. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is just add a package in here so that we can get our migrations running. So you can do this inside of Visual Studio. We'll do it on the command line here. Just add this design package here. And then we can create an initial migration to just populate our database with the right tables here. So we'll run this using the command line tooling. And this should go off and hopefully build us a migration to create the database. All right, cool. So now if we look at our project, we should have a migrations folder, which we do. And in there, we have this initial create, which is going to go and build our plugin session information. Cool. So now we should be able to get back to the point where we can run this application again. This is where I miss the other guys because they were told jokes while compilers worked. All right, let's open this up. Run this thing through, hit execute here. Oh no, it still doesn't work. An error has occurred. Invalid object name vehicles. What did I mess up there? Let's go take a look at our database here. Yeah, I didn't put the right database connection string in here. Yes, oh, you know what? I built the migrations. I did not run the migrations. So that's a good thing to do. So let's go and update the database here. And that's going to go and run the migration. So now if we come back over here, refresh this. All right, so we've got our tables of vehicle and parking session table plus a migrations history. So we know that that's actually working now. Probably didn't need to stop this, but we will rerun it again anyway. Populate, put this one up real quick, try it out, execute. All right, so finally we've got some success here. So if we head over here, take a look at our vehicles collection here, we'll just grab the top 1,000 rows. There we go, there's our 3 vehicles. Okay, so again, we haven't really done anything new, but this is where stuff starts to get a little bit more fun. So let's map another endpoint here. Get again, we're just going to pull this one, update. And this. And again, I'm just going to steal this parking lot context here. But now we made a mistake. We created all these license plates inside of Texas. They're actually in California. So let's go and update all of those vehicles in there. So what we're going to have to do in traditional entity framework is retrieve all those vehicles and update them. So let's go and do that. Parking lot context of vehicles, where, and we'll just find anything with the jurisdiction is Texas. And then we need to update all of these. So for each vehicle in this thing, we need to do vehicle dot jurisdiction, California, and then of course save the changes at the end here. That parameter is. What does that parameter do? Accept all changes on success. Okay. I don't think we need that true, but we'll put it in there anyway. And let's go back over to our model here, our database context here, and add a little bit of logging in so we can see exactly what Entity Framework is doing behind the scenes. So this is just 2 quick changes here. We're going to have it write our messages out to the debug console. It's this one down here. And we're going to enable sensitive data logging on that. Otherwise, Energy Framework logs basically nothing. But that's good. Makes it explicit that we're actually going to go and log this data. All right, well, we wait for everything to get back up and running. There we go. So let's pull this open a little bit here and run this update. Let's try that out, hit execute, and you can see a bunch of code written out here. So let's take a look and see what was run. This is a little bit small, but I actually know how to make it bigger. So we can see that what happens here is that we're going to run a query right here, which is going to retrieve all of the sessions from the database here. So we're selecting all this information where the jurisdiction is Texas. And then for each one of those, it's going to go and run an individual update here. So this all happens instead of the same transaction, the same call to the database, but we're still individually setting 3 different things, and we had to retrieve data from the database to begin with. So let's see if we can do a little bit better than that now. So now we get into the cool new stuff here. We'll just steal this function and do it again, and we'll do update all this time. And we're going to change the way that this runs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do fucking lot context dot vehicles execute update. All right, so this is going to let us update a bunch of stuff at the same time, which we haven't been doing before, but we need a couple of lambdas in here to tell it what to update. So we're actually going to start here with a little where clause. So where except jurisdiction is equal to, well, everything's already Texas, so we'll have to change it back to Texas now. We're going to execute this update here. And what we do is we're going to pass in this little lambda here to set a property on this. So the first thing that we give this is another lambda where we select what the property is we're updating here, which in this case is jurisdiction. And then we need another lambda to tell it what to make the change to here. So in this case, I've just passed in an underscore telling it that I'm not really interested in what the property is. This is the vehicle object, so we can make our updates based on the vehicle object. But in this case, we just know that we're going to change it back to Texas. Just make sure our parentheses all balance here. All right. So that is going to allow us to update things. So we'll run this again, and we'll take a look again at what happens inside of the console here when we do an update. Oh, let's try this out. Okay, so let's zoom back in on this one again. So what's happened here is you can see now we don't actually have that select command that we were going to have in the previous one. We now just have an update command here. So this is updating everything that is in California, setting it back to Texas for us. So this is a much more efficient thing to do. It saves us an entire database trip, plus it runs a single update command rather than a series of update commands. So this is super good to have, really a nice piece of functionality. And then there is sort of a sister to this object, or to this update all, and that is to delete everything as well. So let's give that one a try here. So instead of executing an update, we're going to execute a delete. Yeah. And this is going to allow us to delete en masse as well. So it used to be that we had to do the same sort of thing up here, that we would go through and we would have to like delete this individual entity. So we would have to retrieve all of our entities, which if you're looking to delete, say, 10,000 entities is a non-trivial amount of data that you've got to transfer into your application. But let's run this delete all. We'll check and see what that one does now. Hopefully it just runs a single delete command. Try this one out, execute. Right, and we'll zoom back in again on this. So indeed, you can see that we've deleted everything with this jurisdiction is California, which in this case is probably nothing because I think everything's back in Texas now. But that'll give you the idea of how we can go and be much more efficient about doing these bulk operations in Entity Framework. It used to be that I would drop down to like SQL to run these commands before, but now I don't need to do that anymore. So this is a great improvement, and I'm very appreciative of these changes. In the next episode, we'll take a look at some more changes to Entity Framework before we take a look at changes to .NET and C# itself. So I'm at least one version of C# behind, maybe more like 3 versions of C# behind. So I'm going to run through and take a look at what's new in that. And then we've got at least one more Entity Framework 7 update to have, and then probably a couple of episodes on .NET, on Entity Framework 8. Great. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see everybody next time.